Welcome to the Two Guys, One Coup podcast with Dale and Jim, where the truth matters and progressives' feelings don't. We bring you the facts from the perspective of two average, everyday guys who will never apologize for being America first, for adhering to our great Constitution, and for saluting the flag that our brothers and sisters have fought and died for. And now, here's Dale and Jim.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. We actually have interviewed a few people that have been to Mar-a-Lago, so maybe we can at least try.
Who actually talked to him?
We can at least try,
and meet him. So I think it's the least. Because, what can we do except that, right? I mean, it's and go and volunteer at your polls and read the book, especially read the book, because that gives you honestly all the details you need to know and what to look out for. Which is super important. Donate. And
Leah, one more time,
your cause.
How can people donate again? One more time. How can people donate?
Patriot.online, right?
That's
is that
www.
Good. Leah.
www.patriot.online. And you can click the donate button. You can donate directly to Patriot Online, or you can donate to our legal fund, the Punch You in the Face Fund. That's what it is.
That's what it is. Yeah, because you've got it on like Give, Send, Go. There's also a link there.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, we'll make sure we put all those.
Definitely,
up on the screen.
that's all out there.
Keep talking about those. I do want to talk about the wins. Greg, do you want to stay or do you just want to come back?
I'm fine. Leah, if you would like, I know you have to go. Go ahead, Leah. She's got one more thing.
Thank you guys so much. God bless you.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Leah. Great. We'll talk soon.
I want to stay for a little bit.
Yeah, please do. That's perfect.
We definitely
now that apparently I'm not shutting down.
Hey, we've got 8 hours.
So I apologize, Greg. Yeah. I got all day to talk to you, Greg. That's all.
Thanks. Well, Leah, there's a lot of information we've put out. So, I have more to talk about, but
please.
There's got to be a lot of questions at this point, and I know you guys are going to edit different clips and so forth. So
no, we don't have to listen.
This whole thing.
Yeah,
we'll put this off as a separate thing. We'll just put it out there. We don't edit anything.
Yeah. No, all I do is I add our beginning and our ending music. That's the editing I do. That's the extent of it. No, this will be all out there.
So,
me disappearing and all. So it'll be
okay. Well, I got the deal. I got the deal. I got a black. I don't know if you can see the screen.
Yeah, you've got an extra. You got an extra sheet
one there. So
do I now? No, it put us all together on mine.
Change anything. Just leave it.
I'm not touching anything.
Don't touch anything. I think people can live with it.
So, Greg, as we get into this, guys, let's go ahead and we've gone through all this. You found all the evidence. You put it out there, and can you explain the case and where you go from here? And because we'll get into other questions, we're going to go all back and forth. But if you say because I think it's important that people understand that you won a case.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Okay, you won a case. So
and
can you kind of
give us
Greg
was the gateway pundit. So
we've had multiple wins actually.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've been sued 4 times, sanctioned 7. So we've been sanctioned for hundreds of thousands of dollars 7 times. And we've succeeded. We've successfully defeated those sanctions.
Yeah.
So we've had our fair share of wins.
Sure.
And as Leah mentioned, most of our wins go unnoticed because they're public officials that run. And we've had quite a few public officials that have either been terminated, resigned, and run. And that's taken some changes. So, but we have multiple cases. Now, the first case we filed was just to get visibility. That was on November 5th, actually November 4th, and they approved the order on the November 5th to let us in. And that was a big deal because we had to fight that. It was an important case because this is the things that people need to understand in the upcoming election for November. People are going to need to be ready with emergency injunctions to get access, and then they're going to have the knowledge and the guts to go in. So that in Philadelphia, you saw everyone's seen the video of them putting up big giant sheets in front of the glass in Philadelphia, we had a water leak in Georgia, so we have to shut the whole building down, terminate the vote, and so forth. People need to be ready in November to react to that. and understand what they need to do to get visibility. So we don't have people pushing in trays and pulling out trays of ballots from under desks, which people have seen.
Yes.
And I've heard the most inane excuses. Everybody here, I mean, one of the things we can say here is right after the election on November 3rd, in that week or 2 weeks, the number of people who thought they were cheating when they went to the Democrats was in the single digits, literally 3%, 6%, 5%. None of the Democrats said, oh, it was the safest and most secure election ever. Biden's our president and Trump is crazy. And it's this is an insurrection and January 6th, so forth. Now, fast forward to today, 68% of Democrats believe there was election fraud, 96% of Republicans, and then virtually all the independents as well. Wow. So what you have now is you have 80% of the people, roughly, I'm going to call it 4 out of 5 people in the United States, believe there was election fraud. It's a big change.
It's a big change.
What Leah and I, the case that we had, that was the reason, the importance of our case is people no longer need to believe, or they know there was election fraud, but they've been beat back and they've been demoralized by the pundits that have taken over our country to believe like, hey, there's nothing we can do. There's quote unquote no evidence. We now know we can prove that there was massive election fraud. We have the receipts. There's no possible way that if we go into any court in the country, I don't care, and I'm talking nationally, there's no way that we can't go in and we can't point right at where the election fraud is and say it was right there. Now, if you're willing to fight it out, like Leah and I have done here in Pennsylvania, you can solve that. Now, in Pennsylvania, what we did is once we recognized where the election fraud is, with the mail-in ballots and so forth, we did a few things. We started going after the mail-in ballots and getting the one with the full signatures. Almost all over the country, they redact the signatures. Well, they do that for a reason, because they're fake. Okay. You can put Mickey Mouse on if you have an envelope and you put Mickey Mouse on it, and then you run it through the machine and you take the ballot out of it, right? And then you throw the envelope away. You don't take a picture of it. Well, that's a fired bullet. I now have a ballot in my hand. It doesn't matter, how it got there. I got a ballot in my hand. Here's the ballot. They count that ballot, and now we go back and we want to do a count. There's no way to reconcile where that ballot came from. So what we did over the last 3 years is we fought for that, and we've successfully achieved that here in Delaware County. We now have 186,000 images of envelopes. And one of the reasons I developed, co-founded www.patriot.online, it's not only a social media platform, but it provides us the opportunity to upload documents and not be censored. The other thing we did is we developed a number of technologies where we can read mail-in ballots, compare them, put them together. And what we did is we created a site. It's a platform where they can go to MIB, mail-in ballot, MIBDB database, MIBDB.org.
Okay.
Now, it's a little bit difficult of an interface, but a user in Delaware County, and we're going to be announcing this week. It took us 3 years to get the bloody things and go in. And we had to get court orders and an Office of Open Records orders, but we finally went in, and they finally let us in last year. They wouldn't let us see any of the mail-in ballots. They wouldn't let us see any of the signatures. Well, last year they finally relented after we sued them multiple times. And 7 of us went in. Well, actually, it was a total of 10, but 5 people at a time. We photographed 26,000 envelopes in HD in a little under 7 hours. And those have all been uploaded and OCR'd and compared to the voter records now, where we took those and we took the SURE database, which is the voter registration database. We took the National Change of Address database, and we took a number of other databases, real estate databases, and so forth. And now we've correlated them. If you go to mibdb.org, it's a little hinky right now, but a user in Delaware County can go in, they can put their name in, and they can see the mail-in ballot envelopes that they supposedly filled out over the last 3 years.
Okay.
And what we've already done is we've already tested it, and we did canvassing. Now, as a computer scientist, I can look at it, and I think about 60 to 70% of them are fake. I think that they're fraudulent.
Wow.
Now, I couldn't do that. I mean, I looked at it and knowing what we've got faced in court, if you go into court with that, you're going to have one expert versus another expert.
Correct.
So instead, we went out to the voters.
Yeah.
We tracked down people who we had their mail-in ballots. We interviewed them and we said, "Hey, is this yours?"
Yeah.
No, it's not mine. We have quite a number of people now, and this is why we had to test this before I could announce it, that came in and said, "That's not my envelope. I didn't vote.
Wow. Oh my.
That's not mine." Or we've run into people that said, "Well, I did vote, but it's not there." Well, God forbid that almost all of them are Republicans.
Oh, imagine that. I mean,
surprise, surprise.
So what we had to do is we're now prepared. We have a right to know that can be distributed throughout the United States, especially here in Pennsylvania. It's a right to know that we've already won. And the Office of Open Records here has already adjudicated that the counties have to provide us these mail-in ballots without signature, without the signatures redacted.
Yeah.
Right.
And now we have a place, if they take those pictures or they take these databases of images, they send them to me or they send them to Patriot Online. We'll put them in there, okay, and we'll start building a database so we can show who voted, via mail-in ballot. But more importantly, the citizenry can check.
Yeah.
The other thing we can do now is we can pull out the people. We have 100, 200 people registered at one address. And I want to, this is a good time to address this.
Yes.
There's a lot of issues right now with illegal aliens. And I call them illegal aliens. They're not migrants. They're not,
not at all. We've never called
them
them
illegal aliens.
Illegal aliens.
Yep.
They've committed
Where's the last
crime.
place an illegal alien is on Election Day? It's not a rhetorical question. You guys answer. Where is the last place an illegal alien is on Election Day?
Ballot and the voting, so you would think.
No illegal alien is going to walk in and commit a felony.
Correct.
That literally states that if they do that, they will be permanently deported.
Correct.
They don't care that much. They may be glad they're here. They may have gotten here illegally. I don't care, But the last place they're going to do is go and vote. I don't care if it's a mail-in ballot or whatever. What guys like Governor Shapiro need is they need their names, they need their warm bodies, and they need an address because they vote for them. Now, who's going to report that? The illegal alien?
No.
Are they going to go in and he's going to say, "Hey, I didn't vote.
Hey, I'm here illegally," but they voted for me. It's never going to happen that way.
So how many have we brought in? I think the number is I've heard anywhere from 1.8 million a year for the last 3 years to 17 million. But let's just say it's anywhere between 6 million illegal aliens to 17 million in the last 3 years.
Correct.
And there's a reason that they're shipping these illegal aliens into not only the urban areas, but now into the suburban areas. They've got to get them there because that counts as a vote.
Yep.
They're not going to vote. They're not actually going to do the
matter.
physical.
It's just the head count.
It doesn't matter. They just need their name.
Yep. Wow.
Oh my God.
You understand?
Okay.
So this is what they're doing. This is the strategy. Once you see this, as I say, we can tell the future. It's like X-ray vision.
Yeah.
Okay. No one the Democrats and Biden, and they don't give a flying crap about illegal aliens.
They don't.
They couldn't care less.
Couldn't care.
That's a warm body. Okay. That allows that's a vote to them. So we're just carbon units to them. They don't care. It's just power to them. So what we have is this MIBDB database now, mibdb.org, where we can combat the mail-in ballot fraud. We can OCR it. We also have the capability at this point to read ballots. We can do a recount and a recanvass in a matter of minutes, hours. Wow. So what we did here is the last 3 years, Leah and I and a lot of candidates here have filed recounts and recanvass. Okay. Governor Shapiro can't have that. Okay, and we have corrupt judges, not all. Right. But we have corrupt judges and we have corrupt election officials in these key centers that will not allow us to do recounts. There hasn't been an observed recount in Pennsylvania since 2020. Not one. None. There's been no audits, nothing. Wow. Well, what we did is we filed almost every election for recounts. Yeah. And we learned their Jedi ways, and we've learned how they subvert and attack us. So our strategy was So, okay, let's just look at how they thwart us. And then the next election, we'll refile. And we'll keep going for the recounts until we box them in. That's been the strategy. Now, that requires multiple counties and multiple candidates. So we have John Marietta in Fayette County, which is in the western part of Pennsylvania. We have Brian Yanoviak in Chester County. And then in Delaware County, we have the deep divers, and we have Joyce Schwartz, Kathy Buckley, Lori Mazzullo, Pat Bleasdale, Dean Drybus, and other candidates that specifically ran, okay, because they wanted to get involved. They ran for office, and then after the elections and before the elections, we all filed lawsuits. Before the elections, we went after logic and accuracy testing. What we found is you're not allowed to use voting machines that haven't been properly tested and haven't been properly certified. None of the voting machines in Pennsylvania, none, Dominion, Hardington Civic, and ES&S, have completed their successful certification. By law, they can't use the machines.
Right.
Because they haven't been properly certified. And what they did is this proper certification, and I hope I'm trying to keep a pattern here, but we're filing litigation. So before the election, we walk in and we say, okay, you got to do logic and accuracy testing. That requires you to run 10 million ballots through all these election machines to certify them to be used during an election. And they go, oh my gosh, that's impossible. So they run 7. And then they say, well, and then they only run them through 2% or 5%. They pick all these arbitrary numbers. In every county, the 67 counties in Pennsylvania, does it differently. Go to Georgia, go to Florida, go to any county in the United States, and they all do it differently. And all of them are in contravention to federal law.
Correct.
Federal law says you will do it this way.
Wow.
If you can't do it this way, here's your option. Don't use the machines. God forbid we should do paper ballots and count them at the precincts like we've been doing for 250 years. That's one solution. So we've filed multiple lawsuits for logic and accuracy testing. And what we've done is we've run into multiple roadblocks. And what we've done is we have won. And the way we won was they just won't hear the cases. I won't assign a judge. We have one case, Messino, Stenstrom, and Hoopes here in Delaware County that they refused to assign a judge to for 1.5 years.
Wow.
And we just took that and we said, okay, they won't do that because they can't do that because they cannot win that case. So that's a win for us.
That is, but it's always the perception of, they're not hearing it, so you have no case. It's always the perception of you don't have the case. That's not the truth.
Right. One of the mistakes that was made, Leah and I were on the ground. We were in D.C. and Arlington. We were called down to D.C. after the election. We were in D.C. on November, I think, 14th, November 17th. We were in Gettysburg on November 25th to testify in front of the Pennsylvania Senate Committee. We were down. We talked to, we didn't talk to Rudy Giuliani, but we were working down there with Sidney Powell's team, Rudy Giuliani's, Mike Lindell had people down there. He was sponsoring Phil Klein. There were a bunch of people in D.C. that they knew there was fraud, but quite frankly, a lot of them didn't listen. We were in the room with these people, and I said, look, I was there the day that they did they did Jawbreaker and Dominion, where they walked in and they says, oh, we've got this Dominion, the Chinese and the Russians. And I looked at it and I said, I'm a certified network engineer for Brocade, Cisco. People will know the names, multiple switches. And I looked at it and I said, it takes me, I call my mother once a month. My mother calls and she can't connect her printer. Has anybody ever tried to talk to their mother, over the phone, and not be able to see what they're doing and their printer back up? No. I said, guys, it takes me 1 hour to 2 hours. I'm happy to spend the time with my mom. It takes me 1 hour to explain how to hook up her printer. How are you going to explain network PCAP files? Right. Okay. And all this. We had 4 to 6 weeks before the certification. I said, we have the fraud. I know where they're doing it. They're doing it with mail-in ballots. We just have to walk in there, Take one image of a machine, and we're done.
Yeah.
I know they're using V drives. We just need to get a subpoena, go down, get the V drives. I can prove they're fake. If they don't have what's called a fingerprint, they have to get a fingerprint before the election. It's an electronic fingerprint. It's part of the testing. If it doesn't have that fingerprint, it's fake.
Yeah.
I said, we got that. Let's go do that.
Yeah.
No. We're not going to do that. We're gonna do Dominion, and we're gonna wave our hands and say we've got corrupt attorneys, we've got corrupt officials, and what you end up with is people just holding their heads like I'm doing now.
Yeah.
And it was too much. It was overwhelming.
Yes.
They knew there was fraud.
Yeah.
But they didn't prove it.
Why?
So Leah and I had to sit back, and we've been filing suits now where that's what we've been doing. Now we have 24 recount suits in Delaware County, Chester County, which those two counties together, which are in the southeast corner of Pennsylvania, we're as big as Philadelphia, those two counties. Then you have Fayette County in the western part of the state with John Marietta. We filed recounts and recanvass petitions. And what we did is we asked for the public records. We can do an audit. We've asked for the ballots, the paper ballots. We got to count them. You've all heard of CVRs, cast vote records.
Yes.
Well, cast vote records are basically, this is adjudicated in the state of Pennsylvania. They are digital equivalents of the ballot box.
Okay.
When you scan your ballot through a scanner, it takes an image of that ballot, does a count, and it updates the V drive. It updates the removable media, and it says, here's the vote. And it puts all those votes, not only on a hard drive in the scanner, but it puts it on the removable media. There's a photo of every single ballot. So when I go to do an audit, I don't, right now, the way they've done audits is they either do them for you, and they go back into the counting room, and they come out and they says, hey, we counted them again, you lost.
Yeah. I know. Okay.
Recount complete.
Thank you. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, we did a risk-limited audit. And you know what a risk-limited audit is? We're going to take a scanner, and we're going to take 2,000 ballots, and we're going to run them through, okay? And then we're going to count up what the scanner said and what the ballots say.
Yep.
Well, that's not an audit. What that just says is the scanner's working. It doesn't say what actually got on the drive. It's a ridiculous, stupid test.
Right.
The person who invented, the professor who invented risk-limited audits has called them all bullshit.
Yeah.
The guy who invented them said they're bullshit.
Wow.
So they don't mean anything. They said that we should stop using my name, because, it's not what I meant them for.
It's not what I'm,
So then if you actually get a recount, the candidates go in and they go like this. They take up and they go, I'm not kidding you, this happened to John Marietta, and it's happened here in Delaware County, where you go into a room, and these election officials are behind a glass window, and they go, here's your ballot. Okay.
No. Yeah.
You can only use a pencil and a piece of paper, and we're going to throw these up, and we're only going to throw up some of them, not all of them, and then you can recount them.
Yeah. What?
What the hell is that all about?
I know.
Yeah. No.
How's that?
So,
yeah.
What we can do with Patriot Online, and what we've done is we've got technology now that we've tested, that if we are allowed to take these images from the CVRs, or we take photographs of the ballots, okay, we can run them through OCR, and we can tell you the output, and we can give you the voting results in minutes, maybe a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Well, the excuse the courts have been using around the country and the election officials have been using is, oh my gosh, it will take us months to do this.
Yes.
And we've got another election cycle.
Correct.
That's their excuse. They won't let you do it. Or you get Maricopa County, which was a complete shit show, where they're taking 2.2 million ballots and people are holding them up to the light.
Yeah, I know.
And rubbing them under their armpits. I mean, I just watch this stuff. As a computer scientist and a forensic scientist, I go, what the hell are these guys doing?
Yeah.
And what does that prove?
Yeah.
Right.
I got 2.2 million ballots that I had a bunch of people sitting in a room. And looking at. They don't even know what they're looking for.
Correct.
Yep. You have to run them through a computer system and an analysis system, and then crunch those numbers, make sure they add up. Okay. And then what you do, where you get them, is, those digital images? The CVRs?
Yeah.
Well, they better match up. If I got 100 paper ballots that say this, what I expect is those 100 ballots in the CVRs are going to match. And you know something? What I know is I already know they don't.
Yeah.
I already know they don't.
Wow.
I know how they're committing the fraud, and we know how they're committing the fraud. This is why they won't give up the ballots and the CVRs and the mail-in ballots with the signatures, because if they give them up and they're forced to disgorge them, it's going to be the election
end of
fraud.
their plan. That's the end of it's their demise at that point.
Well, here's how I know that, and how they should know this over the whole country. Every election has to be reconciled. Yes. Every election by law has a reconciliation board, a return board, they call it. And it's made up of Democrats and Republicans. They sit down, they're appointed, and they sit down and they do an audit. And they get all of these things I'm telling you about. They get the blue book, which you sign in on when you get there. They get the yellow book, which they write your name in. You know, if you go, I don't know how they do it in different states here, but in our state, they either use a poll pad or a blue book, and you sign your name.
Yep.
Right.
You sign your name, and then one rep puts it in the yellow book. And then you go and vote, and you run your ballot through, and you get a ballot receipt. Okay. And then at the end of the night, they sit down, and the judge of elections reconciles. They say, well, how many ballots did we get? Well, they gave us 1,000 ballots. All right. How many did we use today? 600. Okay. Do I have 400 ballots that have been unused in the bag? Yep, I have them. How many ballots? 600. Okay. What does the machine say? The machine says 600. Put the counter in. Okay. And I'm checking these off, and I'm doing this reconciliation. Okay. That way, when the vote gets called, and they already know the results, so they say, okay, I'm going to record the results. President Biden got 600, and Biden got 600, and President Trump got 400, and they write that down, depending on the numbers, and they write that all that's on a return sheet. Yeah. That goes to a return board. Then they do a reconciliation report. These processes are the same all over the country. And you know what the commonality is? They don't do them.
Yeah.
Because they can't do them.
Well,
in Delaware County in 2020, there's 428 precincts. 220 of the return sheets are gone. They got thrown away. They got burned because they couldn't be reconciled.
Sure.
The return board wrote this report already. They said, hey, we have the report. It says there's no possible way to reconcile this election. It already says it. So one of the things that we learned, and Leah mentioned, is what I've learned in fraud is that the first thing that corrupt public officials or corrupt executives will do is they'll say, well, who the hell are you? And they'll try to threaten you and intimidate you. And then when they find out you're serious, the next thing they do is they hide the evidence.
Yeah.
Every time. I'm going to tell you right now. How many movies have you seen with them shredding stuff?
In
Wall Street movies or whatever. There's always some guy shredding the evidence.
Yep.
It always happens.
Yeah.
It's a given. We know they destroyed the evidence.
Yeah.
So Leah and I, as part of the strategy, says, okay, we know they cheated. We know how they cheated. They can't reconcile the vote. They certified it anyways. It's all bullshit. Now we're going to put in a right to know, and we're going to run a sting operation. Because the first thing that happens when they get a court order telling them to disgorge these election records is they're going to destroy them.
Correct.
I know it because they always do that.
Right.
We had a whistleblower sitting there, as Leah said, with all these cameras.
Thank God. Yes.
Put in a right to know. And lo and behold, we have hundreds of hours of election officials fabricating the election. We have election officials, including attorneys, admitting they fabricated the entire election. That's on video. You can go to www.patriot.online right now. Go to the media. There's a media thing there, a link. Go to the media and watch the videos.
Yep.
They admit it.
It's unreal.
They said, we had to make the whole thing up. These are election officials.
Yeah.
They're sitting there ripping up the paper receipts and ripping up the return sheets, throwing them away because they say we couldn't reconcile.
Couldn't do it.
Because we made the whole thing up. We have the election warehouse supervisor on video with the head of elections discussing how they recreated the V drives, these drives, and so that they could, because they had to produce those, which they never did anyways, because they were all fake. It's on video.
How many?
We've had this for 3.5 years.
Is this V drive got a certain amount it can hold? Now I ask that is it like you've run out of data, or you've run out of space on your computer and you've got to delete and get rid of stuff? These V drives, are they limited to the amount? And I don't know that it matters, my question, but
it's a good question. Let me explain how it works.
Yeah.
So in every system, Dominion, ES&S, Hardin to Civic, those are your three biggies. Everyone's heard of Dominion because of but not as many have heard as Hardin to Civic. Now, Hardin to Civic was used in Maricopa County.
Okay.
Hardin to Civic was used here, too, in Delaware County.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to speak to that. But all of them have a thing called an election management system, an EMS. Yeah. That EMS system is just a computer. And what it does is all the software is loaded on these machines and on this server. And then you connect your scanners. Okay, there's a couple of different ways you can connect them via a network, or you can take a USB stick. Have you ever booted a computer up and when you from scratch and you load it up and you tell them its name, and all they're doing is they're loading the operating system and they're telling the scanner it's a scanner and not a toaster. That's all you're doing. Machine comes up, it's ready. It says I'm a scanner. The software gets loaded, and there's a test there where the software that's on the EMS, whether it's Dominion, Hardin Civic, ES&S, or whatever, okay, that's validated. That's certified. It's got a fingerprint. We call it a hash code, but people have heard hash codes and so forth.
Yes.
Let's call it a fingerprint. And what it does is says, I have certified software here, and I'm going to put that software on a machine. Every machine I'm going to use, all the software for all the machines is on that central server. So everything's going to match. I should be able to go to every single machine, run a command, it should come up, and it should have the right fingerprint. If it doesn't come up with the right fingerprint, I know that machine doesn't have the real code on it. Okay? So now I have, let's go to the V card. In Hardin to Civic, they call it a V drive. In Dominion, it's a removable USB drive, which is usually it's a really small one, and they use local networks, primarily, but they can use either one. ES&S uses networks as well. Hardin to Civic is physical; you move the stuff, but in each case, there's a V drive, the temporary drive used for that election. Before the election, in all cases, that little program chip has to go through a thing called LNA testing, and they have to format it for the specific election. So to answer your question, a V drive or the removable drives from Dominion and from ES&S, they only have one election's worth of data on them.
Okay.
What's put on those is the CVR. That's the image of the ballot that gets scanned, and then a tabulation of the vote and so forth. So that's the image of that one election, and each one of those drives has to have a fingerprint. So when I go back to the voting center, okay, and I bring these back to the tabulation servers, if I plug them into the EMS machine, which is what I'm doing, I'm plugging in the tabulation server now to count it after the election. It should have the right fingerprint, right? Oh, this is a valid V drive. This is the same drive that I put in before the election, before the machines went out to the precincts.
It should match, correct.
So it's a match. I know this is a valid V drive. I know it's got the right dates on it, the right, everything's right. Now I'm going to count it. That didn't happen. It doesn't happen. They don't have a V drive. So now what they did is they turned that off on the machines. So the EMS systems and the tabulation servers, any V drive they stick in there, I don't check for the signature. I didn't check for it before. I don't care.
That's right.
Okay, I'll count whatever damn thing they put in.
Yeah.
That's how they do it electronically.
That's
it's
like
that simple.
Taking out your check engine light, so the check engine light doesn't come on.
It is that simple. Now, in each scanner, they have an internal hard drive. Now, most of them are just little thumb drives. Okay, so that they say it's an internal drive. It could be a spinning drive, like you've seen on older PCs. It could be they call it solid state. It could be a little could be something the size of your fingernail. It can be a USB V drive in some cases where they put that in the machine and they put a foil seal over it. Now that drive there in the Hardin to Civic, they can record probably 10 or 20 elections over a number of years. Yeah. So the hard drive can collect all that information. Mm-hmm. So now you know why in Michigan, in Fulton County, Pennsylvania, and Fulton County, Georgia, but specifically, let's talk about Delaware County. Mm-hmm. 2020 election comes, we put in litigation holds and we put in court orders, okay, that we want to see the hard drives of those machines. Mm-hmm. To your point, I can't get the V drives. They won't let me see them. Yep. They won't give me the mail-in ballots. So we want to see the hard drives. We want to see the output. You know what they did? They shredded 1,100 machines into aluminum foil. That's no bullshit.
An admission of guilt.
After the election and after we asked for these machines, their response was to shred them all. They did this through the whole country. To your point, Dale, you're saying, hey, don't I have a record of these? Won't the hard drive have logs in them and showing when they were accessed and what software was on them and what the election results were and so forth? Mm-hmm. Shouldn't we be able to see them? Well, the answer is yes. Not if you shred them.
Not if you destroy them. Not if you destroy them.
So what I'm looking at,
just like they do with the envelopes on the mail-ins.
We are going through what we're going through in this country, right? Mm-hmm. With everything that we're going, and the world, right? Everybody in this country should be furious that this happened, that caused this to happen. So I go to the fact that the only bipartisan thing Republicans and Democrats can agree on, they didn't want President Trump as president.
There you go.
Because he hurt them. Yeah. Not us. He was helping us. The people we were doing great under President Trump. Other people weren't.
Mm-hmm.
And so
it's fraud.
Yep. Perfectly. He said he's not coming after him, he's coming after us, right? That's basically
Ben Franklin said this is a republic. You've heard the famous thing when he came out of Philadelphia and they said, what do we have? And he says, we've given you a republic. Now it's up to you to keep it.
Yeah,
right.
A republic. I hate when I hear the word democracy. I want to punch someone in the face. We do not live in a democracy. We live in a constitutional republic.
Right.
We're not going to explain. I'm sure whatever listeners are left watching this, they already know what that is, so we don't have to explain it.
I think we're going to get quite a few because this is great.
It's a contact sport. Mm-hmm. Our republic is a participation. It's a participative government. Correct. It requires the participation of people, and the reason they put people in like Biden's not the legitimate president.
That's what we always say. Yeah,
they put in Kamala Harris. Mm-hmm. I mean, basically, what they did is they put in Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head.
Yeah.
Okay, because they want to demoralize people. They say, look at these two idiots. Yeah. We elected these two drooling idiots.
Correct.
And we put them in office.
Yeah.
Okay, because we want to demoralize you.
It's true.
And I'm going to tell you about who that is in a minute.
Good.
But that demoralizes people. That's why only 18% of people show up at primaries. 18%.
Yeah.
Right.
1 out of 5.
Yeah.
And that's why in our general elections, even presidential elections, we're only seeing 6 out of 10. Yeah. 6. Yeah. Maybe 7 in some places, but 6 out of 10 show up for a general election. Now, that's for a presidential election.
Correct.
For an off year, which determines our U.S. Congress, our U.S. senators.
I know.
I mean, basically our entire government.
Correct.
We got 4 out of 10, 3 out of 10 if we're lucky.
Absolutely right.
So the bottom line is they're not showing up. Mm-hmm. And that's a problem we have to solve. Mm-hmm. But this is why they needed, even the people that are showing up, that's why they need these mail-in ballots. That's why they need to cheat electronically. Yeah. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit, and because we're going to have a lot of questions, is what we found during the investigations that we've been doing is when Leah and I did what we did, I lost my business. I lost just about everything. I lost my business, and after I lost my business, my son worked for me, and he took his life. And it's been
I'm so sorry.
It's been a heavy price.
Yeah.
And people don't know it. I don't bring it up that often, but before this started, the reason I said no to Leah is I've been I've done public corruption investigations, and it never ends well for the people that are doing them. It never ends well. The FBI whistleblowers down in D.C., you know, all their clearances have been taken. They're out of work.
Yeah, they're out of work.
So anybody who does whistleblowing, anybody who does anything against public corruption, they pay a heavy price. And I said to Leah, I said, hey, I paid my dues. I did 22 years of service in the military. I have done public service in routing out corruption, and it got me nothing. And I said, nothing but pain. And I said, you know, it's my family's time. So, you know, I had a good business. My sons were working for me. I had a yacht. I had cars, motorcycles, you know, insurance, gold plated. And I said, hey, it's my turn. So when I did this with Leah, and I knew there was going to be fraud with President Trump, and I did admire and vote for President Trump in 2016. I think he was a wonderful president, and I knew there was going to be fraud. But when I said yes, I knew I was committing a form of suicide, and it's happened, you know. So I lost everything. Wow. And so you'll hear comedians. I can't remember what comedians they are, but they'll say there's a difference between poor and broke. So right now, I said I'm not poor by any means. I'll make the money. I'll make the money back. It's not a big, you know, to me, I just looked at it. I'm used to this. So I said to Leah, I said, hey, you know, it's going to get really uncomfortable for the next 3 years. As long as you can hang tough, you'll come out, it'll be okay. You'll take a bit of a beating. We took more of a beating than we thought. But people are stepping up now. Good. But I want to talk about the people that are doing this.
Yes. Yeah.
This is the part that I think that people don't understand. And if you play one part in your show, or people come to the show, they may want to come to this. What we found out is, because Leah and I stood up, people who have been trampled on all over the country, they called us.
Good.
People who have been abused by the courts, abused by corruption, abused by politicians, they called us. And they started telling us their stories. And we started collating them and understanding these things. And what we came to understand was that there is an interagency effort at the federal government to obstruct investigations. And it's a group of people that they've been actually started in about 1920. And I'm not going to bore everyone with the whole story, but there's a group of people that that believe in our country, that they own this country.
Agreed.
Have you ever seen The Good Shepherd, when he says, you know, we have the United States of America, and you're all just visitors here?
Yes. Correct.
There's a small group of people, and their belief is that this is their country. It's their wealth, and we're all just carbon units here. I know that seems hard to understand, but you have to radically accept that. And what they did over a number of years, they could do what they call progressive social reconstruction. And I'll give you the names later. We should probably save this for a separate show. But they created a thing called the Council after Nixon, 1978.
Wow.
They called it the Council. And it was a group of people in the Inspector General, which is now Inspector General Horowitz, the DOJ, which at the time was Barr, and then the FBI, which was Wray. And what they did over a number of years, in 1978, they had 12 IGs, Inspector Generals, in different places. And they said, okay, we're going to create this organization with lifetime appointments, with total immunity. And the idea was that this small group of people would keep everyone else honest. Oh, if we have a dishonest senator, how do we get a dishonest senator out? If we have a dishonest president, you know, like at the time, you know, there was a big blowback on Nixon. And if we have a dishonest president, what group is going to have the power to write that? So they created this thing called the Council. It's now called the CIGIE, CIGIE. You can write that down, Jim. CIGIE. I'm not going to go over. People just need to remember CIGIE, CIGIE, or the Council. This council is basically the top level of the government, and the equal, you know, all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. George Orwell, Animal Farm. The person, the most unequal is Inspector Horowitz, Michael Horowitz. He runs the council. And this small group of people, think about the power that they have. They have the power to get rid of the president. They have the power to get rid of any senator, any congressman. Let's talk about money. People go, what about the Federal Reserve? They have all the power. That's a ridiculous premise. It's fiat currency. If I got rid of the Federal Reserve tomorrow and said, hey, I'm not going to use greenbacks anymore, I'm going to use red, white, and blue backs. Okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to pay you back in red, white, and blue backs. I could stop everything. I don't need an IRS. I don't need taxes. I don't need anything. Because if I need money, I'll just print it.
Correct.
We have the strongest economy in the world. 70% of all money that goes through China, 70% is US dollars. And people say, oh, China's going to attack us. They're not going to attack. What are you guys talking about? They're not going to attack anything. You know, Putin is over there. What they do is they create this fear and all this mystique about the Federal Reserve. They're just printing funny money.
That's it.
That's all it is. So now I have this council. They understand that. They're the ones swinging the little end of the bat over the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve gets out of line. They're going to say, hey, look, we can make you go away like this. We don't need you. The reason a dollar is worth $1 is because we say it's worth $1.
That's right.
You understand?
Yeah, that's right.
If I say this is $1, I don't care if it's red, white, blue, pink.
Doesn't matter.
I'm going to say what's $1, not you. So the council's sitting there. Federal Reserve's got no power over them. Okay, now think about the rest of the government, the WEF and the George Soroses of the world. Oh, the WEF is going to take over the world. The globalists are going to take over the world. Really?
Yeah.
Do you have SEAL Team 2, 6, 8, Ranger, 101st Airborne, aircraft carriers, nukes, satellites, electricity? Do you have all that stuff? Do you have drones? No. So shut up.
That's interesting.
You think they're worried about the WEF and those knuckleheads over there talking about, hey, we're going to kill 6 billion people and all this stuff? Come on. Council doesn't care about that. It's just stupid. It's fear-mongering. Let's face it. So the council's sitting there. They run this country. It's a private-public partnership. Okay, they work with private industry. They work with themselves. They control the world. They decide, the neocons, they decide, hey, we need a war over here. We need to do this. We need to make money here. We're going to, they basically run the country. It's their country. And I can tell you, we can give you the name. And you know where we named them? I submitted formal criminal charges in July 4th of last year to the House Judiciary Committee and Jim Jordan with a charge sheet. And I said, here's the charge sheet. Here's what Barr did. Here's what Horowitz did. Here's what they did to steal the election. Oh, here's what they did in other obstructions of investigations. Does anybody here watching this really think J6 was an insurrection? Please.
No.
It's a ridiculous premise.
We've been talking
we
about
know, we know Nancy Pelosi and Pence, and it was a fabrication. Why? Because Ted Cruz and a bunch of other congressmen were walking into the certification on J6, and they were going to challenge and stop the certification for 10 days. They were going to do a 200-hour filibuster, because every senator, every congressman that objects gets an hour. Say, for 220 hours here, we're going to talk about the election. We're going to decide if we're going to certify this election.
That's right.
They had to have an insurrection.
They sure did.
So they could clear the Congress out, and Mike Pence, that traitorous piece of crap. Mike Pence is a traitor. Okay, take that as a clip. Mike Pence is a traitor. William Barr is a traitor. Nancy Pelosi is a traitor. Schumer is a traitor. These people, and McConnell's a traitor. They all knew. So President Trump is sitting here. He can't fight this council, but they have this on J6. They have this insurrection. Please. They have to create this narrative. So at 2 o'clock in the morning, Mike Pence can go into an empty Congress, certify the vote.
That's right.
Biden is not a legitimate president. He was an illegitimate president who's been installed illegitimately. He's been illegitimate since he got in. Everybody in the country knows this. The council knows it. They crafted it. This group of people who think they own the country, well, actually, they kind of do. They fear nobody. They don't have to fear anybody. It's like George Soros. George Soros. If George Soros was doing something that they didn't like, they'd drone his ass.
He would
no more George Soros.
That's right.
This is the level of control. So when people go, how does this all happen? How does George Soros do all these horrible things? And why does the WEF and the WHO and you got viruses and corona, every conspiracy theory in the world. Yeah. Do you think that there's a group of people in this country that don't know what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah.
Please. Do you think that they work for Obama?
Yeah.
Do you think that they work for Biden?
No, it's opposite.
Do you think that they worked for Trump?
Yeah.
No.
Wow.
Trump is an enemy to them. So let's go back to the late 1800s. Okay, history repeats itself. We got Carnegie, Frick, Rockefeller, right?
Yep.
They owned everything. The robber barons, they owned the country. It was theirs. They owned it.
Yep.
It's ours. Everybody here works for us.
And they did.
What broke that up was Teddy Roosevelt. Rough Riders, they get this guy. Now, it's kind of one of them, like Trump.
Yep.
He's rich.
Interesting. Yep.
He's one of them. He was able to finance his own regiment to go to Cuba and fight. He wrote the checks.
Yep.
I'm going to go to Cuba and I'm going to fight with the Rough Riders. Comes back a war hero.
Yep.
Which he financed.
Yeah.
Okay. He's one of them. He's in the club.
Yeah.
He runs for president and he goes, this isn't working out very well.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to break up Rockefeller's oil and we're going to break it up into, 36 different oil companies at that point. Yeah. And they started breaking up these monopolies. That was Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah.
That's Donald Trump.
Yeah, exactly.
Donald Trump comes in. He's an insider. I absolutely loved his presidential debates. And I can't remember, there was a senator from New York and says, well, you've paid people and you've done this. And he goes, I know, I paid you.
Yeah, that's right.
That points right at the senator. He goes, because if I didn't pay you and I didn't donate to your campaign, I couldn't build a building.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's why I'm running for president. And that's why everyone in the country loved him.
Yep, that's right. Exactly.
So President Trump, what you got to understand is President Trump didn't create the MAGA movement. He harnessed it.
Yeah, he did.
Okay. If you go back and if you ever heard of a book called The True Believer, Theory of Mass Movements?
No.
Eric Hoffer. He wrote it in 1954. He wasn't even a professor. It's called The True Believer, Eric Hoffer.
True Believer? Okay.
True Believer. It was Eisenhower's favorite book. It was written in 1954, maybe 51, 52, but 1954, he writes a book called The True Believer. And what he talks about, and you're going to love this, is he talks about the theory of mass movements. And the theory of mass movements is at some point in government, when government gets too corrupt, it creates a deplorable class.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Deplorable class.
Yeah.
It creates a segment of the population, the silent majority, and it creates a movement of people who are unhappy.
Yeah.
President Trump, MAGA was a big deal. I mean, MAGA was genius. I'm not going to say MAGA wasn't marketing genius.
Yeah, it was.
But when Hillary Clinton went on TV and said, you're all deplorables, boom.
Yep.
That was it.
That was it.
President Trump's sitting there, marketing genius that he is.
Yep.
I've got Make America Great Again. And he knew right away what he had. He goes, hey, all the deplorables, the mass movement, you're mine.
Yep.
And that's why 80 million people voted for Trump.
That's right.
And only 40 million people voted for Biden.
Yep.
That's the real number, guys.
That's the real number.
The real number was 80 million people. He won, 80 million people.
Yep.
That's why Trump kicked the crap out of Hillary. Okay, he kicked the crap out of Biden. This is why they had to stop the account that night and then not report it it took them 4 days. Before they could even say, well, we kind of think we've got the election result we want. Obviously, Trump won. So this council is sitting here. They're suppressing all this. This is Bill Barr. He gets a declaration from me, and not just me, but my declaration was the primary one that they got because I've done federal investigations. I've written charge sheets. So he gets a declaration that's highly detailed, and it's a charge sheet. So this is what they did. This is what they did. This is what they did. This is what I saw. Here's the pictures. Here's how we fix it. Just go get these forensic images. He's like, holy shit.
Holy shit.
He nailed the V drives. They got the mail-in ballots. They got the whole thing.
Yeah.
And we knew it. And that was the most coherent one. And then Leah had an affidavit in there as well. And, we had other affidavits.
Sure.
We nailed it. They knew that on November 7th. So that's the council. This is why it went through the entire government, and especially within they call it the PIN, the public integrity sector, which is under the inspector general, election integrity, the criminal referral division. Gotcha. We'll be talking about this later. This is why this group of people went absolutely out of their minds. They said, holy shit, they got us. Yeah. We can't believe they got us. They got us because I was a forensic computer scientist who was sitting in the middle of an election center. It's not that I was I'm not a rocket scientist, but I've done it enough to look around and go,
something's not right here.
None of these frauds are a big deal. In the book, The Parallel Election, I wrote it like a Ocean's 11 movie, some of my favorite movies. Yeah. So I have the big store. I don't talk about the Ella Fitzgerald, but they have the pigeon drop. Yeah. I talk about things they call it the Kansas City Shuffle. I write that in the book. So anybody who's done fraud investigations who got in that center, I wasn't that unique. I just happened to be a guy with those skills who was there. Right. If they had another fraud investigator inside of an accounting center with similar experience to mine, he or she would have seen the same thing. Yeah. Okay, so they're sitting there looking at this thing going, what do we do with this? So on November 9th, there's no widespread election. Yeah. And then we go to Gettysburg, and we have the Gettysburg conference. And I speak at the Gettysburg conference. Leah speaks, Phil Waldron, Colonel Waldron. And what they wanted, Gettysburg was a big Fugazi. Every single senator from Pennsylvania that was sitting on that dais, and I don't remember, there was 30 of them or something. Every one of them voted for Act 77. Yeah. People were screaming for their blood. What they needed was it's in the book, and I walk in there and I go, this isn't a hearing. This is a public execution. Yeah. That's what this is. What they want is 70 a-holes to come up there and testify and say, I didn't see anything. Yep.
That's what they want.
Right? That's what happened. That's all they want. Did anybody see anything? No. They kept us in a pen, and they shut the doors, and they said, F you, and you're not allowed to see anything. Yep. So what happens? I have this big conference. All the news crews were there: ABC, CBS, Fox News, NBC, MSNBC. They're all sitting there. Place was lit up like a Christmas tree. Okay, with all the lights and the cameras. Yeah. What they wanted was 70 people to walk up and say they didn't see anything. Yep. That way, the senators, when they were done, Mastriano being one of them, would say, "Hey, there's nothing. Geez, guys,
there's nothing here.
There's nothing we can do." Yeah. Okay, we screwed the crap out of the entire country. We screwed the crap out of you. We stole your money. Yeah. Okay, but no one saw anything. There's nothing we can do. Yeah. So when I sit down, and I'm a forensic computer scientist, and I got Phil Waldron, who's a colonel, who does, was another. He came in after me, and I sit down and I go, I saw the fraud. I saw the missing V drives. We have the missing mail-in ballots. All you guys have to do as a group is do an investigation and have a criminal investigation. Do they have one? No. Does one district attorney do it? No. Does Attorney General Shapiro do it? No. Does Bill Barr do it? No. Did they all know about it? Yes. You know where all that data is, all this evidence, all these videos we have? The DOJ has them. Yeah. We uploaded everything. We put it in every court filing we did. Okay. And then what we did is we had, we got defeated in our first case. Okay. That was went to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court doesn't want to hear it. Not a big surprise. The last pro se defendant, I think, that went to the Supreme Court was 52 years ago. That's great. Yeah. Yeah. So not like I didn't have a big hope for there, but it was a good case. And here it is right here. I had it in my hand. Yeah. Just to submit this. Just for the paper to print this was $4,500. Jeez, when we did our reconsideration, $7,000. Just to print this stupid book, we had to do 40 copies of it. Yeah. So then we filed a case. The whistleblower case is what we call it. Leah and I, we filed the whistleblower case, which is the one that shows all these guys destroying the evidence. Just nails it. We have emails, video, FOIA. We have the discussions between the DOJ. We have the discussions now, and we have all the billing records that show the collusion with Shapiro, with the lawyers, with the law firms, Dwayne Morris, Ballard Spahr. We have the whole thing mapped out. I know who did it. Yeah. I know who stole the election from Trump, and they stole it just for money. That's simple. Yeah. It took us 3.5 years We're finally getting in front of the Commonwealth Court in April 8th, that week or 2 weeks. They call it the April 8th session.
Is it April 8th? Okay.
Leah and I are going to be going. Good. We're representing ourselves, and we're going to present our whistleblower case.
Okay.
And what we're saying is the crux of that is public corruption has stopped the investigations because of what they call strategic mooting. Read the book, but people can look up strategic mooting. But for government, what happens is the way corrupt governments thrive is they strategically moot things. I'm not going to hear that case. I'm going to crush that case. I'm going to crush this case procedurally. I'm not going to do this investigation. I'm going to fire this public employee. Oh, well, you know what I'll do when I'm really caught? I'm going to fire the guy who had least to do with it, right? And then I'm going to keep doing it later. I'm saying, oh, guys, you caught us. I'm sorry. We fixed everything. We fired this. We fired the janitor. Okay, who should have seen this and reported all this. He's gone now, and now we're gonna do better.
We're gonna do better. Yep.
Okay, and everyone sees this. This is what's happening through the whole country. So this is all just routine.
Yeah.
When I said we have a superpower and we can see the future, it's not that hard to see, guys.
Yeah.
Read the book. Just watch it.
And I know we have to go, and we want you back. I mean, this is fabulous.
Okay, this is too long. I know it will be too long.
No, it's not too long.
No,
it's hours.
But my question:
I can do hours. I wish we were there with you
because we want you back on, because if we have to put this in 4 different segments, we'll put it in 4 different segments. There is nothing going to be cut out
every day for 2 weeks.
There's nothing going to be cut out of this. But
do you have any questions before we go? We've already what are we at the 2-hour mark? I mean, you have any questions before we wrap up?
I do have to get going here pretty soon, but I just want to ask you this. Would it take, honestly, like you two, the courage that you guys have shown to fight this, to inspect this, to review this, is it just going to take a judge or a district attorney that has the guts, just like you guys do, to say, you know what, there's something here, let's do it? Is that what it's going to take?
Well, yes. Our premise, and this will be a short answer. From the time we started, the reason President Trump is loved by the people who love him and hated by the people who hate him is his premise is that there are a lot of good people. There's more good people. The United States, he loves the United States of America. I love the United States of America. And I know that this is the only place in the world. I've been to 59 countries. And what did they call them? Shitholes? About half of them are shitholes. But I've been to 59 countries and served in 59 countries, worked in 59 countries. And President Trump, he loves this country. I love this country. Leah loves this country. And it's because we love this country and we know there's good people. That includes judges. Nobody joins the FBI to be a bad FBI agent. You know, we all played cops and robbers when we were kids. You know,
that's right.
They don't join the FBI to say, "Hey, let me get in the FBI and then be corrupt and get payoffs." No one becomes a cop to get payoffs. You know, there's so many good people in this country. And I'm going to say, they're targeting Christian fundamentalists now. You'll see that rhetoric. Radical Christian fundamentalists. Radical Christian fundamentalists or Christians have been very supportive of us. But what they got to do is we got to believe that there's good people in this world. And to your point, Dale and Jim, is what's it going to take? It's a contact sport. It's going to take people to run for office. And I have 6 friends now running for Congress. 6 friends running for Congress around the country.
Good.
Okay. And we have people running for state reps, and they're going to go, and they're not only going to win the votes, they're going to protect their votes. And President Trump's going to help. And we're going to get out of this mess. We've been through way worse than this. I know people are depressed. I get asked all the time because I am. Is this the end? Is this Armageddon, Greg?
Yeah, Jim.
No, it's so.
It's not that way. I just can't help it. Please tell them
we're going to win. And President Trump, look what's happening. I'll give you the evidence of it. President Trump, I think in Michigan, he got 140,000 more votes than Biden did for the entire state in the primary. So people are done. We're ready again. 80% of the people believe there's election fraud. The judges are coming around. And we're finally getting them the evidence so that Dale and Jim, I think by November, as long as we fight in the key states like Pennsylvania, and we get help, we need help. and we get help in Arizona, Michigan. The key battleground states in November are going to be Florida. They're going to try to steal Florida. They're going to try to steal Ohio. Okay, Franklin County, Ohio is a hotbed of the fraud. And then they're going to try to steal the Carolinas.
Yes.
Okay, they take those states. Okay, they could lose Pennsylvania or they could lose a couple of others. But if they get Ohio and they get North Carolina and they get Florida, those are the read the book, Parallel Election. It's in there. We'll talk about it.
Yep.
But the answer is, Dale, as long as we go after these people and stop them. Governor Shapiro is a criminal.
Yeah.
We're going to go after him. We're going to make his life miserable over the next few months.
Awesome.
All right. And if President Trump gets up here and he engages and we get an 80% turnout, 100% turnout, they can't cheat.
They can't.
Even though they will not be able to cheat enough
let's do it
to win.
Yeah, let's
okay. Does that answer your question, Dale and Jim? There is hope.
Absolutely.
Yes, it does.
Absolutely does.
So now Greg, I have hope. So let's do it.
Now he's got hope. Yeah. Now I can live with Jim for a little bit longer because it was pretty damn depressing. But why wouldn't it be? Listen,
I want to give 2 shout outs too. Not only to you guys, one real quick. Yeah. I want to give shout outs to people who have really put themselves out of there. I want to give a shout out to Mike Lindell.
Oh, for sure.
That man is a true patriot. And he has put himself out there, been ridiculed, not impoverished, but they've gone after him.
Oh my
he has funded all types of people. That is a good man who's been wronged.
Yep.
And I want to give a shout out to Roger Stone. Roger Stone is a friend, is now a friend of mine.
Good.
He is a national treasure.
Yes.
And Roger Stone and the Stone Zone. I'm giving a pitch to another thing.
No, please.
These people are uber patriots that have been wronged.
Yep.
And I'd like to see that fixed by President Trump. And the last shout out is please go to www.patriot.online. Okay, that's a social media platform, and start posting there. Start reading it. You're going to see other things there. We've got our own search engine. We've got a number of things that we're expecting. Facebook went down the other day.
Yeah.
Patriot Online won't. It's our own ecosystem.
Good.
I told you what my background was about the things I've secured. Yep. It's a secure ecosystem. So, Dale and Jim, I'll let you wrap the show up, and I can't thank you enough for the platform.
I can't thank you. We can't thank you enough for the time.
I will read this.
Yeah.
Dale knows I read, and as soon as I get this book, I guarantee you it's done by tomorrow night. I will have it read by tomorrow night, and then we can talk about it, and then have you two back on because we want to. We think it's important because there's things we missed, right? Because we wanted you. This is your platform. That we always do that. That's why we're different than some people because we don't interrupt. We're not on a time crunch.
I don't want to.
We let you talk. It's your platform. So
it's important.
So that's what we do.
It's important.
So I hope somebody listens. I mean, even if
we have a lot of.
Oh God, they're
this
all
hopefully
listen.
this will be our most listened to. Yes.
Yeah, it's such an important.
And we've been saying it all along, and now we have evidence.
Yeah,
we'll give it to you.
Yeah,
you asked for a video, we'll give it to you.
Yep, awesome. Exactly. Greg, thank you again. Thank you for the sacrifice, both personally and professionally.
Yes,
and thank you for sharing that story with us. Our heart goes out to you. God bless you and Leah. Yep. We will talk again very, very soon. Oh, yeah. And before we go, our mutual friend, Sandra, I want to thank her for
Sandra.
This and hooking this up. You know, I meant to do that.
Send this part to her.
Yeah, I'll send this part to her. I appreciate her hooking us up together. It's an honor to know you as well as Leah. And we hope to talk again very, very soon. We've got the information. Let's stick together. Let's get Trump to talk to you and get this thing straightened out. Our republic, is counting on it. So we appreciate it, Greg. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. All right. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Two Guys, One Coup podcast with Dale and Jim. Remember, you can watch on YouTube and Rumble and listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And if you like what you hear, go ahead and give us a 5-star review. We really appreciate it, and it helps others find us when searching for podcasts. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and TikTok. Just search for Two Guys, One Coup. That's the number 2, guys, and the number 1, coup, COUP. Thanks again for listening to the Two Guys, One Coup podcast, and God bless the United States of America.